Okay, my apologies again. Let's see if this works a little better. I'm not sure what the situation is with the folks who do not want me to do this job. No, okay, let's see if this doesn't work a little better. What I've got on the screen behind me, if you can see it, is the page from the RISD's website. And to go through again, we have a number of articles to look at. We've got the look at how bonds have passed in the past, for RISD and other school districts. That's by Bach Financials. They gave a presentation to us at the Bond Steering Committee. We also have the Bond Steering Committee presentation. It's some 60-odd slides long, and we'll take a look at some of that. And then, of course, we have this handy-dandy sheet, which gives the RISD's bond scope and sequence for various bonds over the years, looking at the Facilities Condition Index, which I think is a good indicator of how we're doing with our facilities in RISD and why some of them need to be fixed and why there's a problem with that. So a little introduction to me. So my name is Euan Blackman, and I do a podcast called Euan, Me, and the ISD. I'm also a staunch advocate for reform in education and also a great fan of Richardson ISD. As a result, I have been involved with the district for the last 9 years in my advocacy position. I was prior to that a teacher with the Richardson ISD from 2006 through around 2011. Then I went to Australia for a little bit to help my mother immigrate to that country. When I came back, I have now been teaching ever since then. So I've been teaching 23 years. I graduated from the University of Texas at Dallas with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. I graduated summa cum laude, so I graduated at the top of my class. And I've been to now pretty much every single RISD board meeting since 2016, which is the first bond I got involved with. I saw some things that were interesting. So I took a look at that. Oh, by the way, Swag Cup, Forest Meadow Junior High before it changed. I've been teaching all day, so my voice is a little dry, so my apologies for that. But we'll take a look at why was I against previous bonds? What is my trepidation with this bond? And why would I say you should vote yes on this? Proposition A for sure. And we'll talk about B and C as well here a little later on in this broadcast. We'll play it by ear as to how many people are on and watching, what sort of interest we have. I'm happy to bring you in on camera. So I get a little, I don't know if you can see it there, but I get here on my computer screen a little notice that says, hey, bring them in on camera. I'm happy to bring you in on camera and have that discussion. We just keep it civil. I'm happy for people to disagree with me. I have a number of people obviously on the politics page who disagree with me, and that's fine. I like that. Just part of my history, by the way, as to what I've done with regards to my life choices, coming from South Africa, where I saw a horrible, corrupt government do some immensely, cruel, brutal, fascist things to a lot of its citizens. And that was my foundation of my life there in South Africa. And then I came to America in 1991. And I've loved living here. I love this country. I spent 12 years working in corporate America, AT&T, CompUSA, throwback for those who remember it. And then just doing this job. I love this job. I love teaching. It's become much, much harder since the pandemic, to be honest. And the pandemic was rough. So shout out to my teacher friends out there who are watching this. The pandemic was a rough time, difficult time. And we're still picking up the pieces now. I think the school closures, in hindsight, were terrible. And in foresight, which I had back then, we said was going to be terrible. So that's where we are. That's what we're looking at. So let's fast forward to Richardson ISD. This bond is in early voting now. My wife and I will be doing the voting tomorrow. And then we will carry on with doing more promotion for Proposition A. Why do I promote Proposition A? Well, unfortunately, we had a choice made by former boards where they thought this would be a good idea to make middle school the model. And as such, they are going to reorganize the way the school system works. So this is the main reason for more than half of Proposition A is the middle school transfer or reimagining, rebuilding, etc. maybe they thought back then, I don't know, because I wasn't on the committee, but I'm just postulating. Maybe they thought to themselves, hey, we can't really get this thing to work, in terms of rebuilds and remodels without actually doing a whole shift of, middle school. So we went from junior high, 7 and 8, now to middle schools, which are 6, 7, 8. So that was my cup earlier. Forest Meadow Junior High, now Forest Meadow Middle School opened as Forest Meadow Middle School last year. And by the way, sometimes I get my years confused because a school year versus a calendar year. Most of you I know operate in calendar years and I operate in school years. So there's that. Right, so let's talk a little bit then about the need for this bond. I have now been in all of the middle schools, much like I did where I got that swag badge from Forest Meadow. I took a look at that school several years ago, and it's not completely disheveled or like a third world country or anything, but it is definitely, was definitely in need of repair. And now they've done a pretty decent job, using modern textures, modern, interior design, spaces that are flexible. I think they're a little oversold personally on my side of it. Flexible spaces are great. You can walk through and see kids using them. That's great. Awesome. So maybe that's just the, what do the kids call it? The little, boomer. I had to inform them. I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen Xer, but hey, rock on Gen Xers. Okay. So, what do our middle schools look like? Well, I walked into a few classrooms at a few schools, and I won't name the names or put anybody in the spot with that, but they're dark, they're a little dingy. The floors look worn out. So what does a worn out floor look like? Well, they wax them every year. So a worn out floor starts to just accumulate, age to it. It fades, much like my hair did, see? It fades. So too do the middle schools. So they need repair. Some of them extensive remodels, and some of them it's cheaper to just demolish it and rebuild it. So let me segue on that into West Junior, High. The plot that sits on is very difficult to work with. So I know there's a lot of angst in there. If we get some folks coming on, the feed here, later on, I will bring them on if they want to give me a shout out. Let me run the chat open. Okay, so chat's open. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Ask me anything you like. We're just here to have this conversation. We're here to talk about what this bond means. So without further ado, then behind me, I will try to have you see. On the November 4th is the election day. Right now, it's early voting. So it's 3 propositions, A, B, C, as you see here. The problem with these A, B, C propositions that they have is that the technology proposition, Proposition B, is only 54 million. And Proposition C, which is the stadium upgrades, ADA compliance, lighting, turf, etc., is only 7.4 million. Well, I mean, it's a lot of money for anybody. If you offered me 7.4 million, I wouldn't have turned down. But nonetheless, that's, we're looking at between those 2 propositions alone, we're looking at about 61 million. And the entire bond comes in at just about 1.3839, call it $1.4 billion total. So 1.4 billion is a lot of money. But if you're rebuilding or remodeling 6 middle schools that are thousands of square feet, unfortunately, that'll cost a lot of money. And that's where we are. I can't fight that. I wish I could go into these construction companies and look at their hiring practices, pay practices, materials. Where do they get their materials from? How are they sourcing their materials? Why is it costing, hundreds more per square foot to build a school than it does to build a commercial structure? I don't know. I'm not in construction. But you know what? It looks like it's a little high, for sure. But I can't control that. And so we have to work in the land of reality, the land that we have. And in that regard, we need these schools to be done. There's nobody can really argue that point, I don't think. If anybody's been in these schools like I have, taken a look at them, there's not really much of an argument as to whether they need to be done or not. So, bearing that particular thing in mind, we need to replace them, remodel them, repair them, rebuild them, and with that, we some growing pains. So let's take a look at the Proposition A. Let's see what all is included in that, because that is the vast majority of the proposition, and that really is where I want to spend a vast majority of my time to talk about and think about the construction renovation. So let's hit the first part here, which says middle school transformation renovation. This is where this whole thing came from, this 2020 study. Unfortunately, if you remember, as we all remember, I need a drink after that. By the way, just water. Although, you wish. But nonetheless, just water. But again, talking all day. My apologies. The middle school transition was a fait accompli when I picked up this issue in 2022, 22, right after 21 bond was passed. I knew I'd have to take a look at these numbers and say, wow, $1 billion to do a middle school transfer. I'm not sure that is what I would have done. But let's take that idea and set it aside. And let's then take a look at the part where it says our buildings need to be repaired and remodeled. And I really hate the delayed maintenance. I really do. I loathe it. And several folks like, shout out Lynn, I hope you're watching, who's worked on that 2016 bond with me. I was not here for 2021 because, 2020 we had the COVID nonsense. And so a lot of stuff was shut down. So maybe they sneaked one in and we could have done it a better way, a different way, or whatever way. Sure, water under the bridge. We must look forward. We must look at what is coming. My big mantra back in 2016 was build a better bond. Now, the former president stole mine with build back better, but hey, we won't say anything about that. Build a better bond. Break out the bond. I personally think we should have broken this into multiple, but we didn't. I was outvoted. That's okay. It's how democracy works. It is a back and forth between people on opposite sides of the same issue. We both live in this community, and you may be that side, I'll be this side. And sometimes that'll switch, and sometimes we'll switch back. That's okay. Don't fret that. Yes, this whole thing is going to cost, if you own a home like I do, in around the $500,000 range. So it's a little less than that. I fight my property taxes for sure, because I think they're overvalued. So there's my shout out to Sherry. I was listening. I think that this is $125 is an accurate statement in terms of what we're paying now. I think it's a different statement in terms of what we would be paying next year or the year after. There would be a significant decline. So if you want to factor that into the number, sure you can, because next year the graph of our bond payment schedule drops significantly because several bonds are then paid off. You could make that argument. I've looked at that number and I still think that for me, the best solution is to vote yes on Proposition A. So let's take a look then at what Proposition A is promising. What is it saying it's going to do for us? Well, here is maybe you can see if I sit to the side here a little bit. Here are the list of the middle schools. Apollo Junior High, proposed renovations. Liberty Junior High, proposed new building. That's right down the street from my neighborhood here. Richardson North Junior High, proposed renovation. Parkhill Junior High, proposed new building. And Richardson West Junior High, the rebuild and renovation considerations. There's a bit going on there, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then Westwood Junior High, proposed new building. So those are the bulk of the 1.338 billion for the Proposition A, is those middle schools. Well, let's talk a little bit on from that, because I think we'll circle back around in a minute to that and talk about that in a minute. The CTE Education Center, Career and Technology Education. I have a very vivid memory of speaking to a board member in 2016 outside of Richardson High School. And I was saying vote no for the 2016 bond. Not because I didn't want bonds to pass, not because I didn't want a bond, not because I didn't think bonds were good. I was simply saying vote no on this bond because it's not a good bond. And for me, it was those MACs. It was less money on curriculum, less money on the labs. Oh, dear Lord, the bleeding labs. Oh. Let me tell you a little bit about those labs. I worked at Berkner High School in 2006 to 2011. The lab in my old room, B104, still same lab, same messy tables, same janky drawers that don't work well. That's the kids' word, sorry. Sometime I'll do this in a minute. 6, 7. Sorry. Anyways, so literally, that is same horrible tabletops, same drawers that don't work properly. Same fume hood, a lot of storage stuff in the back. So whoever is in that room, by the way, I know who it is, so don't worry. This is not a sliding against him, because ultimately all of those labs look a similar way. Some of them were remodeled before I got there. So those are going on 20 years now. So my opposition to the 2016 bond was that we had academic things that need to be fixed. And sorry if you disagree with me, but I really do believe in my heart that we should do the primary function of school, which is academics. Academics always over athletics. And some of you might not like that, but unfortunately that is my stance on that. But that doesn't mean no athletics. I highly support athletics. I'm a big fan of sports. I've attended many games, not just football. I do girls soccer in the spring because I love that. Shout out to the Highland Park folks. I worked there for many years and had a great coach out there, Stuart. And they won 3, 4, I don't know. If he was on watch this, he'd probably be mad right now. But nonetheless, we won several state championships back to back to back. So I love the sports. I love what they do for kids. I really do. But kids and cats are very similar in that you'll buy a toy for a cat. It'll spend more time playing with a cardboard box than it will spend playing with a toy sometimes. Yeah. So we don't need the big fancy stadiums, the big AstroTurf stuff. It's a nice have. Don't get me wrong. I want nice things. I drive a nice car. I have a beautiful house. I live in an amazing neighborhood, Richardson Park, by the way. Whoop. Shout out to us. It's a great place to live. I love all of that. But we have to put in context of what our mission is. What is our mission as a school district? What do we want to do? Well, it's very clear to me. We want to educate our children. We want to educate our students. We want them to grow up to be well-adjusted adults who will pay their taxes, love their country, and have a civil, decent society. That's the bare minimum we want to have out of this. So if I see us spending $80 million plus into a sports stadium where they didn't include the workout facilities because it would cost too much, but they wanted to do it to get the bond. That's the context in which I said no to 2016, build a better bond, bake out the bond. And then 2021 came along, and 2020 was COVID time. So that messed a little things up in the COVID time because we weren't really engaged with the district. They had those little mics and the shields around everything, and you couldn't talk one-on-one. There was just mayhem. It was absolute mayhem. And in that mayhem, they managed to put through a $750 million bond that started the process we're looking at now. It started that middle school transfer. And that began with Lake Highlands. For what you can all say about Lake Highlands, is a part of our district. 60% of our students reside in Dallas City. 40% roughly reside in Richardson, the city of Richardson. So we are a split up district in that regard, and Lake Highlands got to go first. And so they got the Forest Meadow Junior High, we talked about a minute ago, and they got the Lake Highlands Middle School. And beautiful buildings, no doubt. Fantastic learning environments, no doubt. To deny that to the rest of the students would be the equivalent to saying one of your kids, hey, I'm going to buy you nice clothes, and the other one's sitting there in rags. In my opinion, that's how I see the choice between those two, fairly clear. Now, don't get me wrong. We've got elementary schools and we've got high schools. Those are also going to need to be done at some point, and those are going to cost money as well. Nowhere near what we're looking at here for sure. Fingers crossed. But we have a beautiful community. We have beautiful community schools. We have small neighborhoods of small neighborhood schools. I don't know if any of you saw the video I did on the Project Right Size. It was quite a good one. I think it laid out what I thought, how we should have done that. But again, people disagreed, and they're allowed to. This is a democracy. This is a constitutional republic, to be technically correct. Thanks all my social studies teachers out there. But a constitutional democracy requires people to vote and vote representatives who will think about the best things for them. And so in thinking through that, they came up with this bond. This committee, steering committee, had 62 people, I believe, on the committee. So it was a long committee, and we went through a long stuff. So here's an example of a page that I took, and there's my notes. So I'm taking notes. I'm sorry, I had to see where I was punching you. Taking notes on these questions, asking the questions, pushing for what I think would work better. Sometimes that works. Sometimes they say, okay, we'll go with you. I'll give you a huge win that I had with the district about 2 years ago to highlight the flexibility that some people, especially on this here page, don't think the district is in for. And that is, and I'll come out publicly and say it now because it's already passed and it's well entrenched now, and they're not going to reverse it because I'm saying it. But I had to pull back my voice a little bit on saying this was my plan when it happened, and that was the teacher pay plan. So to my teacher friends in Richardson who know me well, we had this conversation way before it ever passed. So you guys know it. The teacher pay was a phenomenal achievement in terms of taking Richardson ISD from the bottom third paying districts to number one for veterans on several categories. So what do those categories mean? Well, let's take a look. In the category of 1 to 10 years, we're about average. No doubt about it. But once you get over 10 years, you get some super good pay. Our 30-year teacher and a new teacher before that pay plan made $6,000 difference. They're now at $30,000. Why is that relevant? And why is that relevant in the context of this bond? Well, because now we took an 18% turnover rate with our teachers and we lowered it to an 11% turnover rate. That's phenomenal, folks. That's a phenomenal thing. So how did I do that? When do I say, oh, I passed it. He says, oh, ja. No. Meeting with David Pate, who is our CFO. Let me tell you a little bit about David Pate. A great gentleman. And I use that in terms of a gentleman for the most part. You push anybody's buttons, I'm sure you get them riled up. But he has done some marvelous things with our district. He has managed the budget in ways that have saved us an incredible amount of money. He's managed our budget in ways that have been able to, in compliance, of course, with House Bill 3, 2019, I think it was, that lowers the tax rate for districts. There's no new net revenue. He's done a great job working with that. So much so that I think you'll remember last year, or it was the year before last, we were looking at a $9 million deficit, and we turned that into a $19 million surplus. So little things like that. Now, you can have your opinion all day long about how he did that, what he did to get that. But unless you're an accountant and know your finances well, it's going to be a difficult conversation, because I've sat down with that man multiple times for a long period of time, learning a lot. And his predecessor, shout out to Mr. Harkleroad, also learning how these school finances work, because it's difficult. So when I proposed to him in 2023 that we do this teacher pay thing where it's $1,000 per year as we increase teacher pay, he said, well, we don't have the money, which is part of his job, by the way. You have to be conservative when it comes to finances. So when we went through that process, I sent him an email outlining that proposal. So he shot back no. So I don't like no for an answer. So what do? I dive into the numbers. I dive into the budget, the annual consolidated financial report, which is the district's details of everything. Go through that, look at it, find the money, and the middle management growth was substantial. We grew too many middle managers. And so for fighting that battle, the reason I highlight that for you is that fighting that battle, I'm able to transition that into what I'm doing now, which is fighting this battle. So don't just think I'm a fly-by-night guy coming by saying, oh, here's my opinion. I do have some credibility in that I've worked these deals with the district. We've come up with innovative ways to serve our teachers better who serve our kids. So that's that trickle-down effect. When teachers are happy, kids get happier, for sure. And I love that. So I'm concerned because the bond was so much. A lot. It is a huge amount. I'm concerned in that we didn't break it out into more pieces for Proposition A. That's a lot, and they should have, and I voted to do that. But when the time came to vote, they went with a majority vote. 66% was what they went for the majority, and so about 66% voted for the proposition as we have it now. All that to say, do we then say no? Screw them. They messed up. Ha. Let's show them. Let's make them come back and do this and get better. Well, I've done that approach. How well did it work us in 2016? It didn't. So we have to say, well, what happens if we vote no for this? What message do we send the Dallas-Fort Worth area? What message do we send the Richardson area and the city of Dallas, where our schools are also located? What are we telling them? What's our values? What do we want? What do we value? I didn't value indoor football fields. And for the most part, until we fix our academic infrastructure, I still don't think those are a good proposition for a variety of reasons, as we outlined earlier. So, and by the way, while I'm sitting here talking, I'm really just talking through a stream of thought here. Put some comments in there. Make some questions. Ask me some things. If you're against it, say, no, this is terrible, and tell me why. Don't just have me talking. I know it's mesmerizing with this beard out there, so shake it and all. So all of that fun stuff to say, hey, ask questions. It's supposed to be an interaction, not just a video where I'm just spouting off my beliefs and ideas. Although, I do value my beliefs and ideals. I think they're pretty good. But I want to hear yours too. I want to hear what you say. What do you think about this bond? I know a lot of you on the RISD politics page have complained about a number of things, highlighted. Complaints probably a bit of a negative word. Highlighted and said some things about the district that are not altogether inaccurate, for sure. There is some accountability to be had. And perhaps the springboards me into saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I should be in that seat for a bit. Maybe I should be that. No, I don't know. We'll see. I'm half and half there, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. Or maybe 60-40, maybe 80-10, maybe 6-7. Who knows? We'll see what happens. So all that to say, we looked at 259 million in 2021 on bond expenditures, and another, and that was, by the way, for the middle school transfer. And so it's now more expensive to build. And the problem we're running into with a lot of this bond is that the rebuild is cheaper than a remodel. Well, how can that be? That doesn't make sense. The structure's still good. We just take it down to the studs, build a new one. Well, true. Well, unfortunately, you'll find things like asbestos, and that costs a lot of money to remove. When piping is cemented into the concrete, it's a little hard to redo. You're faced with the possibility of trying to have a school that's open at the same time as the rebuilding is taking place. J.J. Pierce was a extensive remodel. So for my West friends out there, it's a tricky situation, but talk to the folks over there at J.J. Pierce. The name is not on the top of my head. The theater teacher had to, I'm being told, rent space up at the Plano to produce her shows. And she was able to do that for 2 years. So yes, it's tough, but look what she has now. And that's a pretty cool setup. And that too, went over budget, and we had that 2021, 22 into 23 inflation, right? If you remember that. Hurt a lot of us immensely. But you can account for 30% inflation. That's a lot. So here we are. They did a lot of things in 2021 that were good. I didn't find massively egregious things. But let's just talk about numbers for a minute, because I always like to tell my kids, you got to be money wise, right? You got to be number wise, number sense. There you go. That's the word. So to do the transportation, for example, 10,800,000. 10,800,000. What does that get you? 44 vehicles are 10 to 21 years old, and you've got 29 vehicles that are 8 to 9 years old. And those vehicles need repair, need replace. Now, I think we can stretch them some more, sure. But this is 10 million we're talking about, right? Buses are a crucial part to having transportation in our district to take kids to school. So that's the problem we run into. What do you do with it when it starts to get dilapidated? So I feel you on the west side of things with the baseball field. That is a very constrained footprint. Why? Because Richardson High School's there. Also, one of our great high schools, by the way. Shout out to Mr. Choate and assistant principal / board trustee for Alan, Mr. Parker. They do a fantastic job out there. They're right up next to the middle school. What do you do with that? The junior high? How do you fix that? You have that space. I've heard some interesting ideas. I've pitched some of those to upper management, and unfortunately, they don't work for a variety of reasons. PDC was too small, no parking, and they looked at, somebody had the suggestion of one of the elementary schools, Greenwood Hills. I think, don't quote me exactly on that, but repurposing that for the middle school while they built the other one and preserve that. Okay, that's a possibility maybe. I know the park next to it there is city property, so that might not be fully possible. However, looking at all of that, they were entertaining these ideas. They were looking and thinking about them. And for one reason or another, they won't work. So we have to go, okay, so what works now? Well, we'd have to tear down the building, but we have to build the building first in order to move the students into the new building, like they did with Lake Highlands. They took Lake Highlands, for those who don't know, and the fields across from Lake Highlands, junior high, they built the new school. And the students then moved into the new school, and then they tore down the old school. So you've been by the site lately, you'll see lovely rolling hills landscape where the old building used to be. That's a pretty quick process, by the way, to tear down and put the landscaping on, or in the case of West, put down the field. So there's that. And then we've got to think about, okay, if you're making the decision, if you're in the chair, how are you going to think about that baseball field versus the school? How many students are there in the school? Just under 1,000. How many are there in baseball? And it does come down to those types of considerations, because you have to look at the numbers. How do the numbers work out? How do we impact the least amount of kids? I mean, it means all, for sure. And for 2 years, it's going to be a short time in the life cycle of that school, right? That school will be open that way for at least 50 years. And if my kid was at that school, that would suck. I wouldn't like that at all. I would be pissed. That's like no games at the home field, all that fun stuff. That is tough, for sure. But maybe this is one of those times where you go, hey, I take a deep breath. Hey, son, here's the situation. We got to sacrifice for the greater good. We got to sacrifice for a better plan going forward. We have to take it on the chin for 2 years. But hey, you know what? When you get to high school, they got some pretty cool facilities there too. And by the time you get to high school, they would have rebuilt that field better than it was. A nicer press box. I'm still a little about the academic infrastructure, but again, I've got to compromise, right? I have to take the losses and I have to take the wins when I can get them. And so it's always trading off. That's what a democracy looks like. That's what a back and forth of, hey, I've got some ideas for my community. You have some ideas for your community. We have to make that work. How do we make that work? Well, we do things like this. Coming on here, talking about this for however long it's been now, I don't have to take the time, 40 minutes. It's a lot of stress. I know people see me as the guy up at the school board, holding those folks accountable. But doing this after a full day of teaching is a lot of work. But I'm invested in my community. I'm invested in Richardson. I'm invested in making this place a better place. And so if I'm willing to do that as a teacher, if I'm willing to come home from a long day, get on this show, if I'm willing to go to all those school board meetings for 9 years, a lot of times, wind blowing through the stadium, through the seats, nobody there, except the hole between my ears, maybe for the wind to pass through. But you know what I'm saying? So sitting there by myself year after year. Now, there's some folks that come and go as things change, they do. But for the most part, for the vast majority of it, and I stay the whole time. I go till the 10, 11 o'clock at night till they go into those closed meetings, and that's a different story for another time. But, I see Ms. Brown, how you doing? I see you joined us there. Welcome. Don't forget, folks, if you want to make comments, put the comments in the chat. You kind of leave me out here by this big old monologue. Okay, so hey, I can do it though. I teach for a living, so don't worry. The CTE Center, let's talk about that for a minute, and we'll circle back around to the other side of it. Career and Technology Education, CTE. What is that about? Well, very simply put, it is a non-academic track for our students. What does a non-academic track mean? Well, a non-academic track is where you do things like welding, air conditioning repair, mechanics, banking, like retail banking on the retail level, a teller, a bank manager, a bank personnel, salon, doing hair, certified by the state of Texas. A legal side of things, that is an academic track, but also that gets in a magnet program. We'll get back later to that. But no, if we look at that and say, what does all that mean for me? It means a lot. I think our kids are not all one size and one shape. One size does not fit all. Okay? And we, for far too long, as I said earlier, for far too long, we've neglected that. In 2016, when I got into this bond business of saying vote no on the 2016 bond, I had a serious conversation with a school board member who, to their credit, and I won't say who it was, came back and apologized later, saying that it was on the campaign trail and they were tired and all the fun stuff. So, in that campaign, I said, where's our CTE? Oh, it's buildings by other names. We're doing this and we're doing that. No. That's nonsense. Don't tell me we're doing this, we're doing that. I want to know, what are we doing for those kids who don't fit the academic track of math, science, social studies, English, to go down the core, the 4 cores, subjects, to become productive members of our society later, to earn a decent wage, to live a decent life, to live the dream. Anyways, I will not sing, I promise. To live that dream, right? I just became a U.S. citizen not too long ago. You must see some of the stuff I have. Oh, here we go. Still up here. Red, white, and blue looks good on you. So I'm practicing my Texan. Anyway, the point being, I really think, as much as I love the country, as much as I love living here, it's difficult. It's hard at times because you have to make a living. And when I first came to America in 1991, I came to America and I was making $4.38 an hour. Minimum wage was $4.25. And I thought, wow, I'm making like 13 cents an hour more than minimum wage. They really value me. They think I'm a great employee. And then I had many jobs where they just fired me. So that soon burst that bubble for sure. My first 8-9 years here was really difficult because I went to academic schools back in South Africa. When my parents put me in boarding school, it was highly academic based. There's no arts and trades, no CTE. And so when I got into education here after being in the corporate world for a few years, 12 years in the social security system, and now, here I am in education 23 years. So it's been a long, hard-fought battle. Our students need to be able to make a living. Not every student's going to go on and be a academic, is not going to go and get their bachelor's degree, not going to go and get their master's degree. I know all the research shows they make more money, et cetera, et cetera. That delta is changing. Just read some articles lately where it shows that now coming out without a bachelor's degree, for men especially, they're earning more money than their counterparts with a degree. So we have to value that. We have to talk about that. We have to have a conversation. And the CTE Center is going to cost something like $85 million. And I said to them, where did you get that number from? I want to quote them because I don't want to get out of my lane here. My kids hate that. Well, that's for you. Susan's not watching because she doesn't have the way to check all that. So, all of that to say, when they showed me the 85 million, I was excited about the idea of the CTE Center, but I'm also a fiscal guy. I want to look at the money. I said, hey, that's too much. Here we go. CTE Center right on the side. And the number is 86.25 million. I need my glasses is what I really need. Sorry about that. Look, can I borrow the glasses, please? So I'm just struggling to read the small print. Sorry. Part of my, age, right? My glasses. So hang with me just 1 second. I'll put the peepers on and see what I can see. Look at that. Don't I look like your high school professor now? 150,000 square foot, unique programming, program access to outcomes, weighted funding, auto tech expansion, HVAC, plumbing. We're looking at, electricians, plumbers, welding. Those are things that our students need. They need some of that skill set coming out of school. Not every one of our students are going to go off and work for TI, although I do like TI, and I hope a lot of our students do work for TI. I want to tell you the same thing I tell my students. There are 8 billion people on this planet Earth, 8 billion. So if we were to say, for example, and I'm just setting up so I don't have to keep reminding us that, yes, there are exceptions. If we have 8 billion people on the Earth and they all walk with 2 legs, right? If you see one person walking with 1 leg, do we go, that's not a human? Not at all. But if we stop and had to recognize that every human, whether they had 2 legs or 1, are still human, we would spend a lot of time trying to placate and appease every single person for every single differentiation that there may be. Fair enough. So one of the things we talked about on this CTE expansion was the ISDs that had CTE centers. And that's essentially what we're looking at building for this 86.25 million. A CTE center. Oh, sorry. So what is a CTE center? Well, it's simple. It's a building where the students can come and use specialized equipment, because it takes specialized equipment to do the job. You can't just sort of think about how to refill an AC unit or how to build an AC or repair the AC unit. That takes energy and time and machines and equipment. And by the way, I do have some questions as to if you're working AC, HVAC stuff and you're doing pretty well, and shout out to my guy, by the way, I'm going to do a little plug because it's not paid or nothing like that. And I'm doing this free. So there you go. West, AC, West Air, amazing little company. Great guys. And yes, I need to schedule my thing. I just now remembered that. Sorry. Busy. Been a little busy. Great people. They live in my neighborhood. So, Air West, Michelle West, for those who know her. Those are the folks out there. Give them a shout. They really are great. But they'll tell you, you can't just like walk in and just learn off the top of your head and go. It takes years of skill and, apprenticeship. There's an old saying, right? Apprenticeship. So we need to think about all of that. How does that lock in together with our students? What kind of students going to do CTE? Well, the kind of students like to be outside. They like to climb around in your attic. Maybe the kind of student that I was at one point. High energy, couldn't sit in front of a computer and learn to save my life. But now look what I do. So you can change things later on, folks. You don't get set on a path. So where did the 86.25 million come from? Well, they just said it was 150,000 square foot. Average cost is 500 a square foot. That's how they're costing that, which is fine. I don't have a problem if that's the going rate. I think once the bond passes, and I hope we do pass Prop A for sure, then we need people like me to monitor on the back end. We need people to do audits of the numbers, forensic accounting audits, materials audits, audit the builders, but not make it so difficult that these guys don't want to do business with us either. I know there's been some difficulty to get people who can actually do the things that we need done. And that's part of why we need a CTE center, to be quite honest. The city of Richardson looking to do roads. It costing more, taking longer. They just came to my neighborhood. We were one of the last on the list of the 28 neighborhoods in Richardson to get done. And it's just costing so much more. When they started, oh Lordy, I don't want to mess it up. I want to say 250,000 was the rough estimate to do the repairs. And now it's more than double. It's like $600,000 or $700,000. See, I knew that would come. $600,000 or $700,000. And so they asked us if they could do asphalt instead of concrete to make the repairs. Sure. We got to compromise people. We have to learn how to get along with the stuff. And sometimes that's difficult. But you know what? I also stand up when there is a line to be drawn. I also stand up when I think something bad is going to happen. And on this bond, voting no on Prop A, bad stuff is going to come from that. I'm sorry you may disagree, and that's okay. But I need to look out for the outcomes for the students. And this is the first bond I've seen where there's only 7 million out of 1.4 billion going to sports, at least on the stadium side. I do recognize there is a little more in sports with the tennis courts, lights, and things like that. So it's not entirely accurate to say just 7, but it's pretty close. I don't think it gets more than 10 to 12 million, but I'm sure somebody will correct me there. So it's not a huge amount on sports, which is fine because they got the max. They can play there for sure. We need to rebuild Richardson ISD, not just with buildings, but with infrastructure, academics. So that's the key, right? And Dr. Leeper does a great job with curriculum instruction. I think we can tweak a few things there. I've got some proposals that I'd love to put through on that side of it, but that's for another time. But Richardson has been around for a number of years, and these buildings have gotten old. Why haven't they been kept up with maintenance? That's a great question. Who's going to hold them accountable? Who's going to go in then and take care of that? That's a good question. I'm there. I'm watching it. I'm speaking up. But I'm one voice. They have a handful of voices. So a handful always beats one. Where are you guys? Join me. When I spoke several years ago with Richardson's Families First, we passed some of the money from a PAC earlier across to them to then move forward to that. And I gave a little speech, just a little summary speech. And I said at the end, I said, listen, if our district doesn't get better, it's on us. We run our district. It's not Greg Abbott. It's not Donald Trump. It's not the federal government. And it's barely the state government. We are running this stuff. It's us. We the people. Hey, Citizen Blackman, we the people. I'm part of you now, so. No, seriously though, they'll let anybody in, right? We the people though, we have to be mindful of how we're doing things. And the CTE Center, 86 million, sure, it's a lot. We're trying to build all the middle schools at the same time. That's a lot. Whom much is given, as I said at many school board meetings, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I'm like standing on, okay, put me in, coach, put me in, I'll help do some of that for sure. Absolutely help do some of that. Hey, when I ran the Comrades Marathon in South Africa, still the only student in my school's 105-year history, still the only boy to run that marathon at school. Well, you're going, oh, marathon, wow, 26 miles. Well, not quite. It was an ultra marathon. So I ran 55 miles in 10 and a half hours because people challenged me and said, oh, you can't do that. I said, yeah, you can do anything if you train yourself for it. And I believe that. I believe anybody can do anything if they train for it. Well, anything within reason, of course, anything normal. Although some would argue 55 miles in one day is not normal. But people might argue I'm not normal either. But hey, I'm still here, fighting, working, trying to get these things done. I love the community. I want our community to come together on this. I want us to send a message on the Prop A. Let's vote yes and get that done. That's my personal opinion. And again, I told you guys, if you want to come in here, hey, oh, there's Lynn. Must have heard your name. Shout out. Welcome. Please feel free to make comments. I can go on all night for real. You might get more tired of me than I will of you for sure. So that's the TTE Center. Let me do a quick little segue in that on the Environmental Center because that's pretty important to me. I'm on the Environmental Center Committee taking a look at that facility. I was hoping it was going to be a facility based upon, what's the word I'm looking for? Private donations. And that was the way it started out, but then it morphed into this deal we have now where the Environmental Center will be on the bond for about $5 million. That's a reasonable price, I think, for the takeaway from that. It really is splendid. We own those 5 acres. It's right next to a river, so there's actually stairs going down to the river. The kids can go down to the river. What do we miss as a longtime educator and for you guys as parents? What do you think your kids missed that you had as a kid? When was the last time they went outside and ran in the puddles and jumped on the mud or got dirty? Or hey, when was the last time they got down in your grass and started looking through the grass, the bugs and stuff? We have a whole center that can do that. For those students who might live in apartments, those students might live in high density family, multifamily units, who don't have those backyards. Or if they do, it might not be a place where they can go and run and have fun. I have some personal experiences with those. So that environmental center is a crucial part to our academic infrastructure. Getting kids excited about the environment. I'm not talking about all that activism stuff. Put that aside. I'm just talking about like what's happening here with these little animals, these little bugs. What's happening with the big animals? How do the big animals eat the little animals? All that fun stuff. And they do have little animals there at this house, but the house has become old. It's 40, 50 years old. I've been in that many times. I took my 5th graders. When I worked for the RISD, I took my 5th graders there. It's a great little place. They have a little pond next to it, a little moss on the pond. They have a lovely little jetty. You can go out on it. My 5th graders who, sure, now they're like 28 years old. My 5th graders loved that trip we took out there, which also couples on the back of the other one that some people were talking about the other day was the Enterprise City. Whew. Enterprise City. I fought on that program hard to get that happening. Now, not just me, don't get me wrong. Superintendent Branham does an amazing job. She's not perfect. Absolutely not. But let me tell you what she does do. She listens and responds and reacts. And so I'm always pushing. You think I don't push? Ask any one of your school board members. I can give you a few names you could ask, but I do push because our kids deserve it. If I'm not there advocating for them, who is? If I just leave for somebody else to do it? No. But I know you are too. I know some of you. I know Lynn. I know you out there all the time advocating for better outcomes for our kids, less technology in the classroom, and we will get there in a minute. So absolutely, we want to. And if we're not out there advocating for our kids, who is? I feel that's literally our duty as adult human beings. If we're not looking out for the next generation, then what are you doing? What's your purpose? What's your life good for if you're not out there trying to help make things better for the next generation? That's primal to our lizard brain. I tell my kids all the time, that's that basal instinct stuff, right? So Enterprise City, for those who don't know, was in a fantastic little setup at, I forget the name of the school, off Campbell. It was set up as a little shops with little awnings inside a gymnasium that had been converted. So they could walk into like a little busy town, if you would. And the kids would walk in there and you could set up shop, charge people money for stuff. You pay little coupons. And they have all kind of competitions like who raised the most, who got the most, who was the most profitable, etc. So the kids would do a whole lesson structure on this for a couple of weeks before. You'd know what you're going to sell, who your group is, what your item is. Something would go buy them cheap. And this was 2006. So even then we had Amazon. So you'd look at items, buy cheap items, or you could go down to what is the name of that store where teachers went to buy stuff for cheap? Come on, folks. It was there in Carrollton Farms Branch, I believe, a little strip mall. You could buy like 500 beads for like $10. And it was really good. Anyway, so the kids would buy stuff from there and then they'd sell it. And then they'd track how much they bought it for, how much they sold it for, how much money they had at the end of the day. All great capitalistic ideas, right? Great buying and selling, trading, figuring out things, swapping things, setting up your shop. Great lessons. We talked about this in the graduate plan, right? The profile of a graduate. I went to all those meetings, gave my input. Very, very strategic meetings was great. The biggest thing we did there was talk about financial literacy. And Enterprise City was that in spades for fifth graders, 10-year-olds looking at how you do buying and selling stuff. Fantastic stuff, man. Amazing. Very, very cool. And so they've reimagined that. I'm now calling it a business town, I think, or something along those lines. But that's going to be a phenomenal thing. And I'll take that over anybody wants to fight on that one. I'm happy to take on that challenge because I do think that's a great academic investment in our students. And it's just one structure in the entire district that all the students in fifth grade get to go and enjoy versus, sports fields being one at each school, etc., which is fine too, by the way. You have to do that. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm just saying the impact these things have. And so the environmental center is great. Business town is great, bringing back our academic infrastructure. I would love to see a planetarium again in some form. Kids' minds going beyond the terra firma that we sit on right here, right? Going beyond where we are. Kids thinking, hey, what is out there? What is a star? How does that work? And we lost our planetarium because previous board thought it financially prudent to cut it because it cost just a 1.5 million. That was 2 salaries, all the bus transportation to and from. Again, I took my fifth graders in 2006. It was a phenomenal experience. We're missing those experiences for our kids. And so the environmental center brings some of that back. The business town brings some of that back. I'm pushing hard to find a way to do a planetarium style thing. I know Highland Park has one that's quite phenomenal. That's not too far a drive. So maybe we look at, could we rent that space or some such thing? But these are the kind of conversations, these are the kind of thoughts we should be having. So the Outdoor Environmental Center, we've looked at some schematics that they've drawn up. We've looked at some buildings. Nothing's in concrete, obviously. But because of these floodplains, a lot of floodplain changes with the state of Texas as to how many year flood they want to account for. And so you can't just take the building that's there now and remodel it. You have to build further away from the river, unfortunately. And there's some great space behind the school that's right there. Spring Ridge, I think. Sorry, my brain is just working with a lot of things at once here. So anyway, that's a great location. So, do we miss anything on, Prop A? Let's see. CTE Center we did Outdoor Environmental Center we did, infrastructure and safety. That's what renovations, for the restrooms. Now, Amy Phipps, and I spoke about this at length. Unfortunately, I was overseas in July when they held the final meeting. I got them trying to delay it, but I missed out. I didn't do it. I didn't get delayed. So basically what happened is we had a number of meetings and we knocked the price down. Several hundred million, by the way. So it wasn't a small amount, about 200 or so million. Part of the knockdown was the, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm shouting. I just feel like when I'm talking to people, I need to project like I am in my classroom. So if it's too loud, my apologies. Hopefully the technology will fix that. at the end of the day, the scope that they wanted to achieve on the technology side was massive. Too massive and too ethereal for my likes. And so we batted that down. But at the last meeting or two, they opened it up to vote. Again, it's a democracy. This is what I think, but I'm one. And while I believe greatly in the power of one, and that's a good movie, by the way, if you want to look it up, a great movie about a South African boy. You want to get some insight into some of my upbringings and how I feel about stuff. The Power of One. Great movie. So long story longer, I got outvoted. It was again 22 to 10. On saying let's scale it back. There was three scaled back propositions. One was the one we fought for. Then there was a middle of the road one, and there was this one, which is the 1.4 billion that they're going forward with. So fair enough. Even then, ladies and gentlemen, even when I lost that vote, it's more than I want to spend. I'm still voting yes. And I'm voting yes for Proposition A because we need it. We need those middle schools. Yes, we could come back in 6 months. And you know what? If you all vote no and the thing doesn't pass, hey, I'm all about it. Again, I can take the loss. I'll take the L. But if you take one L, you take another L, you put them together, what do you got? You get the W. No, anyways, sorry. High school stuff. Anyways, so take two L's, you get the W. And that's the end of the day. I think if this doesn't pass, I will be here. I'm not going anywhere yet. And I'm still, alive and kicking. And we'll fight for a better bond. We'll fight for how to do it better. What ways look better? What ways can we cut back? Where can we cut back? Maybe the CTE center's gone. Maybe the outdoor environmental center's gone. Maybe the business town is gone. But then you must ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, the tough question. Then what? It's all gone. Hey, we save money. Woo! We get back, I don't know, $300, $400. Maybe you get $700 back. On the M&O, INS side when it goes down, in a year or so. Or maybe the school board says, hey, we got to come back and redo this. But what are we winning? That's my question. When I'm sitting in that room by myself, listening to the school board, sure, there's people listening at home. I know because I text some of them. We talk back and forth. I'm texting people up on the days, back and forth. We're having these conversations. I'm not the only one. Surely, I hope not. No, there's plenty of people that are involved in the situation, but we'll have to come back. We'll have to come back together and figure it out. But I hope that doesn't happen because I think that causes more turmoil and destruction than is needed. I think it sends a terrible message to our other 6 middle school students. It sends a terrible message that our community is not willing to go with this work that's been done. A lot of work has been done, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm sitting here with a 60-page PowerPoint. I'm sitting here with a 3-page. I mean, look at this guy. Woo! I mean, that's a lot of work here. Yeah. I mean, it goes through in grand detail. Get the papers again. It goes through in great detail. High school campuses. Okay. It goes through middle school campuses. So we could take like Berkner. What's been done? 2023 security systems. No renovations. Energy conservation was deferred. That's part of that 80 million. I did a long podcast on the Euan, me, and the ISD podcast. I did a long podcast on that, looking at the $80 million deficit. And they cut some of the stuff from that. This was one of them. Energy conservation. Flooring, pending. Air conditioning, heating, deferred. No playgrounds there. Roofs, deferred. Plumbing systems were fixed. Pavement, pending. Life-saving systems, the fire alarms, P&As, elevators, all that stuff was done in 2023. So that's just for Berkner High School. Okay, and that's just Berkner because B Berkner first, okay? For the high schools. Junior highs. Well, what do you notice on this page here? See all this color? That's the high schools. See all this color? That's the elementary schools. See all this in the middle? That's the middle schools. Okay? That's the middle schools. And this is the bond 2021. So the middle schools had a big hole in the 2021 bond. On purpose or not? That's a great question. Here's all the elementary schools. No holes there. I mean, a couple of stripes here that could be better. Who was that? Playgrounds and roofs. So deferred playgrounds and roofs. Look at this side. This is the kind of diving you need to get to, folks, to understand what's going on in our district, where are things going. This is the air conditioning, heating, and playgrounds. Okay? Deferred. 2021, 22, 2023, 2022. Okay, some of them completed, some of them deferred. If there's a space that's not deferred or heated, maybe just need replacing perhaps. But the one I want to focus on here, the important one is the very last column. This very last column over here is called the FCI, the Facilities Condition Index. And that tells you how the building is doing. I don't know why they did it as a percentage on here, but they did. So Berkner High School, 11%, now 10.3%. Lake Highlands, 16%, now 11%. Pierce, 13%, now no percent, 0. They've got that remodel done. Richardson High School, 8.4%, 3.7%. Okay? So they're reducing the bad conditions at these schools, and that takes a lot of effort. You see that? I mean, that's, how many buildings do we have? A lot. But also, we have 36,600 students. So call it 37,000 students. We have another 5,500 staff members. I mean, just to think about that, I battle sometimes to keep up with the 160 students I teach in a year. That's a lot, 160. Now, imagine how much more difficult this task is. And so I don't want to bemoan and begrudge. I don't want to give platitudes either. But these guys worked really hard on putting this together. It wasn't a whimsical shot in the dark. And I know some of you on the RISD page think it was, and it really wasn't. And so I had a conversation. Leslie, I see you there. I had a conversation with a local constituent, and upon further review from the conversation, they said, well, why didn't they just tell us that? And I'm like, well, they kind of did. I mean, it's kind of, you got to be engaged. You got to be with it. And I know you're busy lives. I know you have very busy lives. I get it. I do too. I teach for a living. I live in a See, I'm struggling to talk now because it's been a whole day of teaching. We live busy lives. We really, really do. We have a lot going on. I get that. It's hard to be at the front the whole time. Okay. So bearing that in mind, I think more engagement from our community. We have a whole department set up for community engagement. And whenever I speak on this, I tell the board, hey guys, we need more community engagement. Oh, no, we have engagement. The PCAs do a lot of work on the local level. They don't want big programs across the district. Okay, fine. But then we have this. We have this consternation. Consternation on this bond, $1.4 billion. It's going to cost $125+ a year. That's not a small amount because that's every year for 25 years. It's not a small amount. It's not just $10 a month. Although technically that is the actual number. It's a little more than that. But even with that, I'm saying vote yes for Prop A. That's what I will be doing. I would encourage you to do that. So even my friends on here who I know you disagree with me, I want you to think about that. Think about that proposition. Think about Prop A, how much we get out of that. If we don't invest in our future, what is our future? Like I just bought a new car. I had the same car for the car in Harvard Yard. I sound very foreign there. No, so I bought a car after not having a new car for well on 12 years. 12 years I had my car. I take care of my things though. I have good maintenance. I keep up with it. It's looking beautiful. Anyone wants to buy one, let me know. But anyway, I bought a new car and I waited for the right deal. So I bought electric because there were some great deals to be had because the new administration was coming in. So I bought it in February. People didn't know. So I jumped on. They didn't know how the new things would work out. And I jumped on that. I was like, hey, this is my opportunity. Just buy it. And I want to bring that same sort of mindset to what we're looking at here is going forward. Once we pass this, we need to be mindful of the money we're spending. And I think I would like to take a deeper dive into those construction companies and how much are they charging schools? The old NASA pencil, right? Not pencil, pen. They want a pen to write in space. And so they spend like $800 per pencil, $800,000 to develop this pen to write in space. And the Russians had pencils. So that kind of thinking, right? We got to think. And Linda's going to love this part because we're going to get now into technology. Let's talk a little about technology. Again, let me just bring in a little bit of my, credentialing on technology. I love tech. I've been in love with tech my whole life. I love gadgets, how things work. They're fun to play with, fun to enjoy. I'm on my phone right now doing this live stream. I've got 2 laptops set up here. I'm projecting to the TV behind me, all that good stuff, right? I got the smartwatch, all of those fun things. Those are great, lovely gadgets to have. But when it comes to education, we need to be careful. Not everything that glitters is gold. And I feel that's what happens when we get into tech. It brings about unforeseen problems. And so this is why, and I'm going to apologize to the folks on my committee because they're supposed to be out here going, yeah, bond. But for B, I'm a no. And here's why. Let's just take a look at the numbers. Let's just dive into the numbers. So, Bond 2021 tech, right there. We spent a lot of money. 56 million for devices, 15 million instructional, and 42 million for infrastructure. Student Chromebooks, iPad pencils, student hotspots, network printers, et cetera. That, a lot of stuff in there, right? That was a lot of stuff. And so the 2025 bond for technology, in 2021, it was 15 million. On this one, it's 34 million. Infrastructure in 2021, it was 42 million. In 2025, it's 90 million. Unfortunately, and I don't like this, but that number is buried in the Prop A for construction. So this is where we get this from. You can look online. Those numbers are right there. This is page number 55. So it slides, 55, 57, 55, 57. So that's going to be 54, I think. Sorry, the writing here is a bit dark to read the exact number, so I want to give you the quotes. 50, 49, 50, 51, 52. Yeah, 52 through 55. The technology proposal, that instruction and infrastructure buried inside the Prop A. Prop B, though, is devices, and that's because the state of Texas, much to their credit from 2016 when I said build a better bond, break out the bond. I said very clearly that Republicans and Democrats have choices on who they want to be president. Women have choices with their bodies. It changes nowadays, but fair enough. But when people don't get choices, they don't like it a whole lot. And so the state stepped in, and unfortunately, through politicking and whatnot, they just limited the devices. They didn't talk about the infrastructure. Because that was one of the contentions we had, and some of the folks on the district committee for the technology side of it were actually in the cloud space. Data centers and clouds, data clouds, all that fun stuff, right? Which is what went wrong the other day when all those computers went out on Monday. That was AWS, Amazon Web Services, had some issues. Without getting technical into what those issues were, we all realized how much technology we rely on that. Me in my own biology classroom, freshman biology, I had to push back my test a day because I had to go print stuff out, and I didn't feel like it was a real easy transition into going from having the PowerPoint, and we have that lovely touchscreen TV. We have all those accoutrements, but unfortunately, when the thing went, we were now stuck to find a way to go print all that stuff out, make copies, all those. And we did that fine. It's just, we rely a lot on technology. And that's a little scary. So when it comes to devices, I asked some pertinent questions, and I didn't get a really good vibe from the district on the answers for that. And if some of my fellow committee members are on here, I wish you guys would step up and say a little piece there. I see a few of you came on. I don't know if you're still here. I don't want to call you out by name, but that'd be interesting to see. But anyways, and way to hang in there, folks. We've had up to like 22 people. That's massive. That's about 5 times more than most of the meetings for the bond. So good on you for staying here. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Staff devices, they're looking at 12 million. Fair enough. The staff do need devices, so I'm not going to quibble with the $12 million for 5,000 staff members. Student devices, however, 58 million. Lab devices, 4.5 million. Lab devices also, I'll leave that 4.5 million alone because that's probably folks in the yearbook, journalism classes, video editing, CAD design, that type of thing. So those folks will need more expensive materials, computers, MacBook Pros, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to quibble 4.5 million. Where I do quibble with the student devices. And it says 58 million for student devices. Now, In 2021, they did 32 million for student devices. As I understand it, somebody jumped in and said, hey, Chromebooks are not good because they're not Scottish, they're crap. Sorry, all my SNL fans out there. No, the Chromebooks were not great, and they need better books than Chromebooks, and so let's look at the MacBook. Okay, well, the Chromebook cost between $400 and whatever, $400 and change with software and all the other things I need to do with it, and that's reasonable. $1,500 for a MacBook, not so reasonable. And then I asked to see the workups of this, and I was shown a spreadsheet, and I asked if I could have a copy of the spreadsheet, and it was like, no. Well, there's where, ladies and gentlemen, there's where I'm going to draw my line in the sand. If we have a community coming together, interconnected, if our community wants together, and I'm saying vote yes on Prop A, and I'm saying no, vote no on Prop B, because we need a voice to hold somebody accountable. And I am a big fan, almost as big as me, big fan of open government. Open government. What do they say? That sunlight is the disinfectant, but neon light is the policeman. That's the light I have on me now. So ultimately, we need a system where government is open so that we can understand where our money is coming from, where it's going to, how it's getting spent, how these propositions are made. I don't run the district, okay? That's Superintendent Branham. And I will tell you, she does a good job. I know you may disagree with her. There's some things I disagree with her on, and I am very straightforward with that. If you doubt it, ask Tabitha Branham. She'll tell you, right? There's other people in the district that don't even deal with it all because I find them not to be credible or in some ways worth engaging with. But then there's a whole bunch of people that do a really fabulous job, they have a great heart in this. They're looking out for the right reasons, and that is to make things better for our kids. So when I'm out there like trying to set up meetings with people and they brush me off or they don't and then they do and then they don't, that becomes a problem. And I'll speak out about those things because that's emblematic of the things we don't want in our district. We want people who return your calls, return your emails. We want people who will meet with you and discuss. And I can assure you, Superintendent Branham is big on that. Very big. And if anybody wants to get a hold of the district on stuff and you're not getting a hold of them for whatever reason, you message me. And I can guarantee you it'll get a hold. My wife says that at times I am the bull in the china shop. Well, sure, perhaps that's the truth. I don't have that soft touch sometimes, but I got a good brain, hopefully, to make up for it. And so, looking at these devices, I have a big problem with a $58 million price tag on this. Now, we did get it down. To their credit, we did talk them down from that. We scaled back the data center. So they wanted to build a whole new data center. It was going to be around $45 million. And we said, no. So they did scale that back. They said, okay, perhaps we can rebuild the data center in one of the repurposed elementary schools that we moved the students out of. A bit of a thing going on there. So I did a whole video on that. Look it up. It's on my channel. I'll post this one too on my channel, the You and Me and the ISD. And you can take a look at both of those together if you like. But I think on Prop B for technology, I'm a no on this. Not because I don't want technology for the kids. I do. But I think two factors for me. So here's the two. Number one, devices last longer than they used to. So this idea that we need a new one. I've got an iPad. I've got a MacBook Pro here that I bought in Australia when I was down there in beginning of 2012. MacBook Pro 2012, so that's 13 years, still working. My wife still surfs the web on it and does her thing. Any kid could use that MacBook Pro and be just fine. So I recognize that when you pay a little more, because the MacBook Pro is a little more money, that it lasts longer. What I'm not about is paying more for that thing with the idea that it lasts longer and then we go on a 5-year cycle. I'm not about that life. So if we're going to go with these higher price ones, then we need to tell the community that that's what we're going to do, and then we can be held you to that, like we did for those 3 elementary schools. Remember, there were 3 elementary schools, and shout out to Woot, by the way, for being one of the community members that came up to the school board to speak on this. There were 3 elementary schools. It was Northridge, it was Hamilton Park, and it was Stoltz Road. Those 3 schools were promised $10 million renovations. And when the $80 billion deficit came along 3 years ago, they were like, oopsie. I was one of the 2 community members that went to the school board and said, no, you need to stay committed to what you promised you'd do. And they did. Now, I haven't dived into like why they cost $10 million to do what they did, but fair enough. If you have information on that, let me know, because that's another thing on my plate of many, many things I'm working on. Folks, I work 3 jobs and I do this. And when I say this, I mean engage with the Richardson ISD on a volunteer basis. I get paid 0 pennies. No one's offered me jobs. No one said, hey, come work for us. No one said, here's a check for saying no on this or that. Okay. So it's a lot of volunteer stuff. And so do you too, by the way. So, Amy and Eric and, Eric Siegel and, Amy Phipps and, my brain, come on. It's been a long day, folks. I'm forgetting somebody. I'll think of them in just a minute. Anyways, all work together on that committee. And it's hard work, for sure. And so thank you to those guys for the great work you put in, long hours. We met many, many times, folks, and we didn't meet for like half an hour. It went 2 hours and then some. So from 6 to 8 p.m. on a weekday, no less, we would meet on that committee meeting, and go through that. And as a teacher, I just got to teach I get to work at 7:30. I work at 5:30 a.m. every morning, and I just go. Get it done. You just go. So some burnout, sure. And I'm working on some good teacher burnout stuff. So my teacher friends, hang in there, guys. We got you. We got some stuff coming down the pipe. Nothing from the district, by the way, just what stuff I'm working on right now that I'll propose at some point. So tech for me, I'm out on just because it's too wishy-washy. It's not solid enough. And the infrastructure stuff they want on technology is in Prop A anyway. So if you have to vote yes on Prop A, which I'm looking to do, that's where a lot of the infrastructure is. So you can't say, oh, the thing will fall apart. No, it'll do just fine. I know the district is thinking about, and I do support looking at, iPads for high school. In the district that I work in, we have iPads all the way through, to high school. And even iPads, by the way, can last more than 5 years and do just fine. So I had an iPad. I was online, with a virtual learning situation in a ISD. And my iPad was a 2017. It got replaced last year. So 2017 to 2024. And I think then I had an iPad Pro to an iPad regular now. And it was a downshift. It was a downgrade. So don't just think time. It's not the old, Moore's Law for my, think of it. Moore's Law for my tech people. Okay. Moore's Law is no longer a thing, much anymore in terms of how computers are running. So don't think we need 5 years. We need a new computer. We really don't. And then that'll bring the question of elementary schools. Do we need tech in elementary schools? Well, yes, unfortunately we do, because the STAR testing is on computer. But do we need to limit the tech in the elementary schools? Hundreds of thousands of percent. I think there should be a set, just like we have, well, I'm on my phone, screen time on the phone. I think we could have screen time for elementary school. And more recess, by the way. I've been pushing this for going on 4 years now. Excuse me. I think we need more a recess for our kids. So that's another situation we can talk about later. But devices, Prop B, 55 million for, as of yet, undetermined money spent there. I don't think we get the bang for the buck, but we do need the devices eventually in terms of the STAR testing, and we have to have that. So the middle school transition was approved by the board of trustees. There's no going back on that, folks. We can't sit. Well, we could sit under. Sure, we can do whatever we want. We kept Russia at bay for decades with mutually assured destruction. It was called MAD for a reason. And that's what I think we would do if we sank this bond. It would be mutually assured destruction. And for me, that's a bridge too far. That's an ask too much for our district. So what do I guarantee on this? Not much. It's just me, right? But I'm in those board meetings. I'm in the room. The great Shirley Chisholm, first African-American congresswoman, 1950s. The great Shirley Chisholm. She said, if they don't give you a chair at the table, bring a deck chair. Hey, as deck chairs go, this one is not too bad, but you get the idea. Even if they don't want me, then I'm still there. When they do closed meetings, I tell them, no, open the meetings. There's obviously a few limited exceptions, but we've done too many closed meetings. I'm there to talk about, give us a tax cut because we have a surplus of money. Remember how we've been taught as deficit. There's been some talk in the community, by the way. Our district is not in deficit spending. It's in deficit budgeting. Note the difference, please. There's deficit spending and there's deficit budgeting. And the deficit budget is based on a projection of how much money we get. And so David Pate, much to his credit, is a conservative guy when it comes to budgeting the forecast. And he's doing about a 3% growth. But as you know, because you and I all live in Richardson, and those folks who live in Lake Highlands, same idea down there, and the folks who live on the west side of town, same story there, the house price has gone, right? This beautiful house that I'm in right now, I bought 10 years ago. It was at the top end of our budget. My wife and I are both teachers, by the way. Both work in different districts. We both teach. She does pre-K. That gives her a certain set of skills, if you know what I mean. And I teach high school. And we couldn't afford this house today. There's no way. We can barely afford the taxes on this house. So I hear you with that. But I can't undo magically what's been done in the past, but I can change it going forward. So Prop A, yes, we need to build, folks. It costs money. It's expensive, but that's a pain I'm willing to bear with the understanding that the future looks brighter when that happens. And I'm not just, oh, rainbows and unicorns. Woo! No, sir. I am in the mud. I am in the trenches. I am there fighting to make sure those things get done well. I try to fight against things that didn't get done well, and I lost some of those. So I'm not guaranteeing I'll be able to win them all, but I am guaranteed I'll be there for the fight. And so that's why I say on that one, I'm out. And then on Prop C. So A, yes. B, no. C, you got to pick your fights, folks. 7 million for the turf and a few million for lights. The lights will probably save us a substantial amount of money, the LED lights, rather than the massive, what are we using now? There's halogen bulbs, massive power drain. And not only does that help us with cost of electrical, but also helps us with our grid too. We have a 10 years grid situation in Texas, if you know what I mean. So we'll take a look at that. Again, we get there, but you know, and the turf is the turf, right? I wish we had grass. I wish we played on grass, but again, we don't. We have turf. And so every few years, every 10 years, we need to replace that for several $1 million. That decision was made before my time. I would be interested to somebody take a look, on the maintenance side. That's, Mr. Hasso. That's your neck of the woods, is to see a costing out of what would it cost to do a grass situation versus a turf situation. And maybe we go back that way. Maybe we become that destination district, that leader district, doing some innovative stuff like having kids play on grass again. Imagine what that would do for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have a lot of good ideas, guys. So for C, I'm going to say yes. And when I say a lot of good ideas, I don't want to stop on that and just say, woo, look at me. But literally, there's a lot of good ideas going around. The teacher pay was one of them. There's several more in the works. Boys programming is a big one I'm trying to bring through on the shack side of life. These things cost money, sure. But I'm trying to do things that don't cost a lot of money, but we have to build back our academic infrastructure. This bond is a crucial part of that. It is. And there'll be another bond, by the way, 5 years from now, because that's also a decision. If you don't like that decision, we can revisit it. Personally, on the devices side, I think maybe we expand that cycle to more than 5 years. Maybe go 7, 8 years on a cycle. Which would mean every other bond we do devices, not every bond. And we can work it so that it does a 7-year cycle as it shimmies along. Okay? That's my thought on that. Please get out and vote either way. Early voting is now. We've posted a few locations you can go and vote. That's all online. Right here, Richland Park is one of them. Obviously, the City Hall is one of them. Fetz Park is a big one, and I think the other one. Anyone know, they can post it in the comments here. Anyway, that's about all I can think of at this time with regards to that. So yes on A, no on B, yes on C. That's where I stand. That's my personal opinion. You can join me in that opinion, and we'll see how the voting comes out at the end of the day, which is November 5th is the voting day. I tell you what saddens me the most in our district is the number of people that turn out and vote. I fought for 8 years to get my citizenship. It was a long, hard fight. for a variety of reasons I won't go into, but here we are. I got it. They awarded me citizenship. I said the pledge. I pledged my allegiance to America, and I'm ready to go vote. And boy, I'll vote every time going forward. Every time. My one voice will be heard in the form of or whatever the case may be. I don't even know how do you check it or do you punch it? I don't even know how it looks because I've never done it before, but I'm excited about doing it. So I love this country. I love my neighborhood. I love my school district. I love everything. No, just kidding. I love my wife and my dog. They're great. I love where I live. I love what I do. I really do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it because there's many other things I could be doing. There's many other places I could be at 8:30 on a Tuesday evening. Okay. A lot of other things I could be doing, but I'm here with you, here looking at the bond. No one had questions though, so I'm assuming you just enjoyed hearing me prattle on about all this stuff, twaddle on like a twit, as they would say. But no, I think this bond is an opportunity to imagine big, to dream bigger than us, to make this a monumental moment. And who knows, maybe through that, maybe I say, hey, let's go ahead and run for school board or something. I mean, I've been playing around with that day for a while now that I have my credentials, as they say. Ultimately, I don't know. Where do we go from here? If we won't know on this bond, who's picking up the pieces? Somebody else going to do it? You going to do it? Who's going to do it? If we say no on this, if not now, when? If not us, who? Right? And I've said no, 2016 bond, build a better bond. 2021, I was at COVID times. I was out down farming. And even then I said, yeah, that's too much, that middle school stuff. But we got it. That's what we got to finish. We have to finish the race. When I ran that 55-mile marathon I told you about, quick anecdote before we wrap it up. So I'm running 55 miles. I'm 18 years old. I was the third youngest, by the way, to finish that marathon, third youngest that year. And I finished it with the second oldest guy running. He was 72. Met him on the last stretch of that marathon. And great photo I have up of me shaking his hand. Wonderful man, Dr. Cole. Wonderful man. He was a Jewish doctor. And great guy. He had run many comrades. And I came up at the end of the marathon. We'd run probably 48 miles. And we just finished a big hill called Polly Shorts. For those who know the comrades, not very many of you, granted, it's about a 2-mile hill, 2 kilometers, sorry, about 1.5 miles, hill at the last 10 miles of the race. So you've run like 45 miles and then you hit this hill and it's brutal. You're trying to give everything you can to get up that hill. And when I got to the top, I saw Dr. Cole there. He's just not doing well. He just didn't look good. As people would in an ultramarathon, right? And so I just said to him, hey, come on, man, we can do it. Let's go. And I put my arm around him and I said, let's go. Fatom, man. Fatom, which is Afrikaans for go get it. Let's go get it. And he and I had a great talk. It ended up that he knew my mom, who was a nurse. And we just had a really good conversation finishing together. You can go look that up, by the way, if you want to check my my facts. 1990 Comrades Marathon. Dr. Cole and Euan Blackman. I finished at the same time he did. 10 and a half hours of nonstop running. But when you get to the end and you see somebody who needs help, that's when you connect and you help people when you can. All right. I think I prattled on a lot. I didn't see any questions or comments, but perhaps they'll come in the chat as I post this live. You can come back and watch it. Please share it out. Share it out to people if you find it interesting. If not, you just laugh at the guy with the receding hairline. Or not. It's all good. But thank you for being a part of this one. I've been your host, Euan Blackman, with Euan, me, and the ISD. Thank you and good night.